Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, at Inforum.com. Hello to all our friends in Sioux Falls and Rapid City and all parts in between on this happy hump day, the 29th of July, 2026. I'm without air or oxygen or breath because the story that hit us right away this morning has taken all my breath away. And it's a head scratcher. It's fantastic for those of us that cover local sports in Fargo-Moorhead. Out of Atlanta, Georgia. Headline this morning is remarkable because the Falcons, everybody's starting camp today, right? So the Falcons are getting going. Headline is quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is dealing with an injury to start training camp. Okay? Not necessarily breaking news for us here. But then also under the fact that they have all of their quarterbacks are hurt, meaning rookie, undrafted free agent Jack Strand is expected to take the majority of team reps today. Yes, you heard me correct, folks. The former Minnesota State University Moorhead starting quarterback, who was a finalist for the Harlan Hill Award this past year, is now QB1 in Atlanta as they open up. So Tua can't go. Michael Penix isn't ready for full team work. They released Trevor Siemian. So that means Jack Strand is the guy. I'm looking at video right now of him taking reps, wearing number 18, rolling right and hitting the net. Cooper Rush was also signed today by the Falcons, former Viking killer, who beat Minnesota on an infamous Sunday night game at U.S. Bank Stadium a few years ago. But the Falcons are now relying on a guy that never took a snap under center. In the 4 years he played across the river at Nemzik, he was never under center. He's doing that right now. Obviously, we've highlighted this throughout the pre-draft, draft process, and since then of keeping an eye on what's been going on in Atlanta, and that is remarkable. We always have these kind of stories during NFL training camps where there's a guy that's coming on that no one talked about, undrafted guy that comes on is going to make the 53-man roster. It's typically not quarterback, right? And it's certainly not a Division II quarterback. Now, this may be a one-day story, but I'm telling you, it's a great one-day story for us. That is fantastic. I was already planning on having the head football coach of the Dragons on pretty darn quick. We might have to do that even sooner with our guy Lockway to come on, because this is, again, for anybody we've talked to plenty of Dragon recruits here over the last 2 to 3 weeks. This is something you put this on a big poster, say, hello, our guy is now getting number one reps in Atlanta. Kevin Stefanski, of course, the former Vikings offensive coordinator, former Browns coach, is the new Atlanta head coach, saying that we're not sure how long it's going to be, but Strand is the guy, at least for now. They don't expect, according to that one report, that Tagovailoa will be back sooner rather than later. Remember, Atlanta has 2 left-handed QBs there with the drafting of Penix and the signing of Tua in the offseason remaining. Or just remarkable. This is where it is. Kevin Stefanski says Jack Strand will receive a lot of work in 11-11 periods in light of the quarterback news, and that there are some other options the team is considering. Obviously, that is Cooper Rush. Rush, Jack Strand, and Michael Penix Jr. throwing passes in warm-ups. Just awesome. For the guy who's literally a rocket engineer, we might have our new version of the Pastronaut. Remember we had the whole thing with that hell blew up a couple years ago with the Vikings. Now we've got this with Jack Strand in Atlanta, which is ironic because that big Viking win happened in Atlanta a couple years ago. With that, we say good morning and welcome to Hot Mic, everybody, on a already shake your head kind of Wednesday. We got a lot to get to today. It is opening day. NFL training camps are all going for all 32 teams. It is also opening day in North Dakota. Both the Division I football programs will have their first practice of fall camp today, which seems optimum when it's going to be 97 bleeping degrees later today. UND is going now. We're going to check in live in Grand Forks in our second hour as the Fighting Hawks begin year 2 with Eric Schmidt. Later today, North Dakota State has its first practice of fall camp. You'll hear from head coach Tim Polasek in our show this morning about some of the bigger storylines he's keeping an eye on and bigger players and all topics that we reach with the Bison head football coach from a conversation I had with Tim late last week in anticipation of fall camp, part of our massive preview coverage we have of Bison football over the next month to get you ready for that. I know it feels like football outside, but we're rocking and rolling today. So it's an exciting day. Today, when I used to be anchored in the sports, this was a big day. I remember on a day, I don't think it was as hot as this. I have to find the photo. It was me and Vegan out on the old practice fields. We used to have to wear full suit, like we couldn't wear shorts or anything like that. I'm out there, tie the whole 9 yards, and doing a live shot with Vegan after they had a practice. I'm like, man, it was exciting. It was pumped up for it, but, man, it was gross hot, and it's going to be gross hot today. So everybody hydrate that's going to cover the practices, let alone participating in them. So we'll get plenty of that coming up later on in our show. Also, really neat deal coming to West Fargo this weekend with one of the top college volleyball players, now professional volleyball players in the country, is coming to West Fargo Cheyenne this weekend. You'll meet her. Former Nebraska Cornhusker standout volleyball player Merritt Beason is going to be on our show in the second hour. Tell us about the unique camp that's coming to West Fargo this weekend. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But let's start with your Minnesota Twins. The Twins that I buried back in April. As you wake up this morning on the 29th day of July, they are 500, which again is not, you don't have a parade for being 500. But they are right in the thick, not only of the wild card race, folks, but of the American League Central Division race. And with 5 days out before the Major League Baseball trade deadline, they made a statement last night. I know they beat Kansas City, who's bad, but they made a statement last night to say, we are in it, to management to go get some guys, and let's go win this bleeping thing, to quote Tom Berenger from Major League. Let's go with the highlights from last night at Target Field. Taj Bradley was on the mound, which is automatically a good thing, and he was great again. Another double-digit strikeout performance from the Twins' right-hander. Again, we were sulking last July at the trade deadline when Griffin Jax was dealt. And remember, Jax was definitely sulking when he was took out of the game last year. But this is the guy they got back, and he's been great. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts on the night. It's a scoreless game in the bottom of the 4th when Josh Bell delivers with a base hit. Remember, Bell was talking about a month ago about who he'd be dealt for. He's a free agent. Gets Cody Clemens to score. It's 1-0 Minnesota. Same score into the 6th. Now some trickeration from the Royals. They throw down to second, and instead, the Royals steal home on a nifty play here from Lane Thomas, who comes in to score and ties the game up at 1. Same score in the 6th. Salvi Perez is still playing, and he's still contributing. Little duck snort into right. That's going to score Thomas again. Makes it a 2-1 Kansas City lead. Everything was frozen in time, apparently, after that. See if hopefully we have an issue with our video. But I can't show you the thrilling walk-off, but the Twins had a walk-off winner from Royce Lewis in the bottom of the 9th. A 2-run triple that scored both Victor Caratini and Brooks Lee to give a 3-2 Twins win. The Twins are 500. 54-54 on the year. I mentioned Bradley's great start, 6 innings, struck out 10 in the process. It's all right, guys. We can move on from that. All right, so the division standings as we sit here on this Wednesday morning. The Twins are 2 games back in the American League Central. Chicago is a game and a half up on Cleveland. The Tigers are in a free fall. I know they won last night, but Detroit seems like they're going to make some moves here. So that's the AL Central. The wild card race is just as entertaining to watch. The Twins are a half game back at Cleveland for that last wild card spot. And I know we've been fixated on the wild card race, but the division is not out of the realm of possibility here of what's going to happen over the next 2 months. And I'm telling you now, they are forcing management to make a call. That just, it seems like they are in this with 2 months to go. Game 2 of that set comes up tonight at Target Field, and we'll see what happens. Again, I told Corey Provis I thought 5-1. So far in this homestand, they are 3-1 so far. Fun night last night at the ballpark. I mean, this is what you want, right? It's the 29th day of July, and you want to be in the race, and they certainly are here. Now it's a question of what they go at. Now, do they go at Major League for Major League talent? That's the question. Do they give up? I mean, they've got a wealth of prospects. Do they go give up a prospect for a quality starter? They need another starting pitcher. They need more bullpen help. That's the question that's in front of Jeremy Zoll, who's the director of baseball ops for the Twins. I don't want to pitch it, guys. Yes or no? Do we have Lynx highlights? Can we do that or no? Okay. So across the street from Target Field last night at Target Center, the Lynx were opening up the second half of the WNBA season. Had Toronto in town. Nafisa Collier was making her home debut. Remember, she played her first game before the All-Star break. They have Olivia Miles. This is the highlight of the year for the Lynx. Watch this pass by Miles. Between the legs? Seriously? To Kayla McBride. Watch again. This is sensational. Between the legs, no look, McBride steps into a 3 and drains it. I mean, come on. Feed down low to McBride. She had 18 last night. Another in transition. Cans a 3. That put Minnesota up by 14. Again, another no look. She's just out here like it's a Tuesday at the Y. The entire season she's been like this. Toronto, though, remember, this is an expansion team, but they've got 2 dynamite players. That's one of them. That's Marina Mabry, the rookie. She had 25 last night to get the tempo back within 5. Then Miles goes around the world, around everybody to score, gets the and 1. Lynx win it, 193 behind 24 from the rookie Olivia Miles. Added 8 assists and 6 rebounds. Collier had 15 and 6. The Lynx have won 8 in a row. They haven't lost since July the 6th. Granted, I know the All-Star break was in there, but this is their second separate 8-game win streak of the season. I know we got football going. The Twins are relevant, but the Lynx are the best team going. They're 23 and 6. They play Toronto coming up tomorrow night. Good stuff there last night. All right, last thing before we get going here. And that revolves around the Minnesota Vikings, who officially opened camp today. Now, we promised this yesterday on the show because we knew that Kevin O'Connell and Nolan Teasley were going to meet the media. Teasley, of course, is the new general manager. KOC offered up more word salad that I could chop down this morning, but was asked, obviously, on what the plans are for quarterback throughout training camp and obviously for the preseason games. And I'm going to play you here the most condensed version of what he had to say on the quarterback battle, as it were, heading for Vikes training camp?
Yeah, I met with all those guys really on an individual basis over the last day or so, and really just want to be able to articulate the vision and the plan. I feel very good about our plan. Both Kyler and JJ will take reps with the first team. They'll also take reps with the second group, and I think that gives different layers to the evaluation as well. We want an elevator at the quarterback position, and in many ways doing that in this system is kind of a do-your-job mentality, which is, running the show, throwing completions, and just showing the ability to execute our offense with comfort. And that offense is an evolving thing, and we're excited about what this year's offense could look like.
Well, it can't be any worse than last year's offense. I again am of the mindset that it's going to be Kyler Murray starting in the Week 1 opener, but if the Vikes get their way, JJ wins this job. I think that's a long shot, but that's what the next month is going to play out. The other big news out of Vikes camp was the signing of Brian O'Neill to a contract extension. They're starting right tackle through 2030. O'Neill's a great story. There's a solid draft pick that turned out to be a really good player for him. And so the bookend tackles are now signed long-term. Darisaw on the left side and O'Neill on the right side. We'll update more from Vikes camp as things go on, and clearly we'll update things from Falcons camp with Jack Strand getting QB1 reps here on this Wednesday. We have a packed show coming up for you here. Our guy Drew Trafton will join us in just a few minutes. Big Sky Media Days were earlier this week. Get his thoughts on the upcoming Big Sky football season, which obviously will look a little different. There's a few new teams into the league. They're playing 9 conference games for the first time. We'll do that coming up in just a few minutes. My conversation with Bison head coach Tim Polasek, if you missed a portion of it, we'll air that at 9:35 here on day 1 of Bison fall camp. Surrounding the quarterback for the fourth straight year, the Bison are going to have a new starting quarterback. And how I put that, 2020 for the one game, Trey Lance was the starter. The spring of 2021, Zeb Nolan started game 1. Fall of 2021, Quincy Patterson started game 1. Right? Keep it going. Fall of 2023, or 2022, Cam Miller was the starter. And then fast forward, Cam Miller in 24, Cole Payton in 25, Nathan Hayes in 26. Crazy. We'll keep the football conversation going an hour or two. Tom Miller will check in live from UND Fall Camp Day 1, give us his major storylines we're keeping an eye on for the Fighting Hawks for this fall. I think UND is going to be really good this year. That's just my 2 cents. We'll find out what Tom has to say about that at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, former Nebraska volleyball standout, former captain of the Huskers, Merritt Beason will join us to chat about the camp that she's bringing to West Fargo Cheyenne this weekend, about playing for Huskers, obviously, in front of 100,000 people, and also about playing professionally for the Omaha Supernovas. We'll do that coming up before we wrap up the show at 10:35. So a lot to get to here on a busy Wednesday. We'll take our first break. We come back, some Big Sky chatter with our guy Drew Trafton. So we're off and rolling on a Wednesday morning. Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra right after this.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
Trafton joins us each and every Wednesday here at 9:20. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Hey, I feel like this is the first time we're not faced with talking about soccer.
Are you okay with that?
I guess, yeah. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed having I don't know, what was that, 6-7 weeks
about
of just
that,
where we were really talking about that, which is okay.
The soccer headlines aren't done. I don't want to spend too much time on it today. Just there's some interesting stuff now that FIFA wants to do out of what happened here over the last
Apparently,
month
money
and a half.
is a major motivator in the world.
Breaking news on that one, right?
More to come.
How about the Jack Strand story, huh?
That's so cool.
Is that wild?
That is so wild to me. And it's I off the air I was saying, man, that quarterback situation
ain't
not
good.
ideal. Like,
Ain't good.
And they're not alone. Like the Cardinals also have one that's kind of like a head scratcher to me, and it's like, how do NFL teams get in that situation? But great for Strand. I mean, incredibly cool story for Strand, and I mean that's just like, we both live in Moorhead, and I was just thinking, I'm like, I drive by that stadium, most mornings, and I'm like, that's so weird that a kid who was like, taking like, reps there at practice when I would drive by last fall is now, taking the team 1 reps with.
I love this guy. We've had him on.
Falcons.
I got more than a handful of times on the show, and his attitude has always been the same no matter how high the accolades went. When the NFL stuff started, he was still pretty even keel about it. He knew full well what he was getting into. He worked with the same quarterback coach that Cam Miller worked with, and that got Cam drafted, where I think there was some that, like, there's no way that Cam Miller is going to get picked, and obviously that ended up coming to fruition. Jack didn't, but out of the Division II ranks, even harder to get noticed. And now
absolutely.
He's
and
he's taking snaps, man.
The Falcons knew what their situation was heading into camp,
Totally.
and they very easily could have brought in a journeyman veteran quarterback just to take those snaps.
Well, they did in Tua. I mean, right?
Well, sure. Like another one, like just somebody who's like just a warm body, just to take snaps, and they didn't, because he can he can do that. Like and best of luck. That's great that he gets that opportunity.
He's going to play in the preseason.
Yeah.
Then it's the time. Okay, can you
make
get
a
on
roster?
Can you get on the 53?
Which
right?
is, I mean, on that team, like with I don't know, worst case scenario, maybe he lands on a practice squad.
I feel way better
somewhere.
about the Jets quarterback prospects, and I hate the Jets quarterback prospects in 2026. The Jets are trying out. Gino's back, taking first
Gino's
reps
back,
since 2016. I'm like, that ain't something to brag about, man. 2016 wasn't good.
Yeah.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right, though. How teams put themselves
in that
spot, and like, we're good. This is what we're rolling with.
Yeah.
Like, what? Seriously?
It's a head scratcher.
It tells you again how many quarterbacks are actually good in the NFL, and it's probably a way smaller number than even I think.
Yeah,
it might be 15.
Yeah,
that's half the league.
And still, like in its entirety, you take all the quarterbacks who are in camps right now. You're like the 90 best players in the world at that position, which is really impressive. And like and there's such a stark drop off between, number 32 and 60. It's sports are tough. Another breaking news. Professional sports, hard to play.
Let me ask you this. The Big Sky preseason poll came out on Monday. And the Big Sky is still the only league that does 2 separate
coaches.
I mean, not even FBS does this, where they have a coach poll and a media poll.
Yeah.
Now, no surprise, Montana State was on top
with a bullet.
But I had issue with who they had after that.
Okay,
did you see this?
Well, I saw that 2 and 3 were the consensus.
Who's voted for Davis to win this thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Davis, I understand what they have back,
right?
But no.
Yeah, I guess no. I wonder. Okay, here's the argument for Davis. Okay, and I would not have voted for Davis, obviously. I think maybe their schedule sets up better, and it gives them that path. So they could, if Montana State were to stumble at
they ain't stumbling.
I don't think so either. Their schedule looks like, I mean, they're going to cut through that easy, but maybe Davis has the easier opportunity, but they do have to play Montana. That's coming, like you mentioned, you get nine conference games.
Davis has their FBS game as SMU. That's a tough game there. Yeah. They're non-conference, they'll win all of those.
Right.
They play at Portland State, at San Diego, and Stetson. Stetson, who's coming to Brookings, by the way. They host the Grizz like we talked about. They go to Southern Utah. They go to Weber. They go to Idaho.
Yeah. I think it's their schedule. That's what I am looking at, where I'm like, okay, so somebody
and they don't
could
play
think,
Montana State.
Yeah, so it's somebody could think that they might. Okay, so
So who's put Idaho State, by the way, at 4?
I thought that was interesting too. The idea of which Idaho school is going to be up there, and I don't think that vouches well for the quality of the conference.
No, that's
to be honest
obviously
with you.
the league is grown by 2. The Southern Utah and Utah
Yeah.
Tech are now in the conference.
Yeah, and Northern Arizona's been like getting better-ish. Like they've been like
They made the playoffs a couple years ago,
like
and they lost to.
And I mean, they used to be at
Abilene.
the basement of
Right.
the conference.
NAU was bad.
And so they've made some good strides there. But
I mean, Eastern Washington now simply moved up because the other teams came in are worse than them.
Yes.
But Eastern Washington
they've
is
been rough.
not going to be
and
good.
that conference is so much better when
Northern
Eastern,
Colorado's got to love it. Northern Colorado used to always be picked last. Now, hey, we're 11th. Let's go.
We moved up in the world. The East, like the Big Sky is so much better when Eastern is
Totally.
a force. I mean, it's like
and when
you get
Weber
those-
was good.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you had a run there, and granted, that's when the Montanas weren't humming.
Yeah.
That Eastern Washington, Weber State were the top two teams in that conference, which is crazy to say now of how cyclical it is. Now the Montanas obviously have the mojo going, and Idaho had a spurt when Eck was there. But
And with
you
the
look after that,
realignment of college football a little bit too, I feel like now it's more concrete.
You know who's never been good in that league is Poly. Cal Poly is never.
Yeah,
they had one stretch they were okay, and that was probably a decade ago when they were okay.
And they have that thing too where like they might win like a kind of a weird game. You know, like they're always good to like pull a strange upset in conference play. And
I'm interested in a couple things here. That the league is going to 9 games now, and how that affects playoff seeding. Because Wistersill, when he was on with me, and I asked him about that, said we think this is going to strengthen our case for more at-large bids because we're playing more games against one another. But
head-to-heads.
Granted, I'm looking at the from teams drew 4 through 13 are
they ain't
good.
And like I could see where that. Really, this year, the way that the schedule sets up, as far as I've seen, like that really does only strengthen like the top 4, and
so maybe you get 2 of the top 4 seeds.
It's also the Big Sky, so it's like they're going to get that, right? They're going to get, they're in line to get at least
with North Dakota State
2
leaving, correct,
of the top 5 or 6 seeds anyway.
You would think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got 2 separate emails on this that I have to ask you about. Don, will you ask Drew his thoughts on Montana State and what they're doing today? Do you know what Montana State's doing today?
What are they doing today?
They're at the White House today.
Oh,
so they are meeting the president today.
Hey,
they have a ceremony at the Rose Garden.
Win the championship. That's what you get.
Your thoughts on
good for them.
Cats going
Have fun.
to
have
see the
fun,
president.
Cats.
Another one. Montana
great.
State to the White House today. The only FCS to visit the White House outside of NDSU. I believe so. I don't remember any other FCS teams ever getting.
I don't either.
Invited to.
I don't either.
To see
but
the president.
I think the support that these states have with the administration that's in makes sense. Like that they would get that invite. It's a good like feather in those senators' caps to be able to get their teams
something
there
to
for
do
sure.
that. That's something that we saw. Obviously, the North Dakota Senators have dined out on that for a bit.
And it's like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. To be able to do that. So. And enjoy it. I hope they have a great time, and I hope they're not thinking about football at all, and they're resting on all those laurels.
To me, I'm so interested to. I don't know how much to follow the FCS this year.
Yeah.
Simply knowing where my attention is going to be for the majority of the fall. It just seems to me like, okay, Montana State, I know is going to be really good.
Yep.
I think Montana is going to be really good again, I would think.
Yeah, I'm not
After that?
Yeah, I mean, like I think South Dakota State is going to be a force this year too.
I think UND is going to be quite good.
UND, I do too. I went down to the Valley Media Day, and you kind of get a sense of how those teams are feeling, and but on paper, I feel like the Jackrabbits are going to be up there. I think UND has Kaminsky coming back, and they've got a good base there too, and they could make a deep run this year with like if you're good, if you're on that top. I mean, as we know, like there's not a lot of variability, in that top 8 of the FCS, and you've got a good shot at the semi.
Yeah, because I don't know who is the team. Like Tarleton is the one last year that came on, and they were a top 4 seed last season, and are they going to do that again? I don't know.
A lot of people are talking about West Florida, as
they're
they're
the new
joining,
team on Division II ranks,
and the team that is spending the money, and might be the exciting team over the next 3 or 4 years, and and we'll see.
I look at that UAC, which is now the former WAC, the United. That's where Tarleton plays, where Abilene is in. West Florida went to that league. West Georgia is there, who bubbled up for a bit last year. Are one of those teams going to be consistently good? I don't think so. I think they can bubble up and have a really good year.
Yeah.
Like Abilene did. But then Abilene,
again,
and Abilene dropped down.
Yeah.
Tarleton was great last year to make it and lost to Villanova in the quarterfinals a season ago. Nova's a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to have anybody consistent. The schools you mentioned, they're going to be there. And that's, I think, a reason why NDSU left.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally. It is. And I mean, I've seen so much more chatter since NDSU left on the Montana schools, like, thinking about, or like, that reporting. I think that has really started to bubble up more than it had been.
It's just so odd, and I've normally been so geeked about it, like, all right, here we go, and it's just different. Now I'm focusing on something different than I have been over the last 15 years.
Right.
Crazy to think about.
I'm kind of hoping too that once the season gets going, and we start to see these storylines emerge a little bit more, there will be things to get excited about. And I was when I was driving over here, I was thinking, who are the NDSU fans going to pull for in the FCS now? Like where do their loyalties lie? And I thought it would probably be some team in the Valley. But is there going to be?
I don't actually. I think it'll be the Montanas.
Okay.
I do.
Interesting.
Because I think they're next up.
Sure.
I think they're next from all the tea leaves that I got out of Vegas, and from what I know, Montana with Ken Haslam has gotten the train rolling there. Certainly, it's happening with Leon Costello at Montana State. Yeah. That I think, to answer your question directly, I think the Bison fans are like, you know what, we want the Montanas to be good, and so then they come. And they get the next year, and they come to the Mountain West with us. Yes, I do.
Okay,
That's
interesting.
I think there'll be cursory in watching what South Dakota State and what UND do in year one. Probably year two. After that, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They're not going to spend a thought about Illinois State. They hope Northern Illinois probably drills Illinois State this year.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think they want Montana State to. And then Nevada game, that's awfully interesting on how that one goes.
Sure.
Because Nevada losing that doesn't help the Mountain West one iota for its big picture plans on the CFP selection, right?
Yeah.
You can't be dropping any FCS games. But Montana State goes in, and we got to go as I think more than a slight favorite in that game when they go to Reno.
And they've got with Choate on the other sideline.
Correct.
Like, they're going to, absolutely.
Totally. So to answer your question, I think they're looking at the Montanas, keep it going, and then maybe the invite
I'd be
will
curious
come.
about that because the NDSU fans are just so so passionate, so knowledgeable that it's like all that FCS knowledge going to waste seems like.
I don't think they're pulling for SDSU and UND. I just don't. Maybe
I don't know.
Off on that, but I would think they're looking
have
at the
gauge.
Montanas.
I'm just really curious about that.
Yeah,
See,
I don't think they're not paying attention. I don't think they're pulling for them. I guess is what I would say on the distinction on that.
They're more just observers.
Correct.
At this point.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for coming by, man. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
We'll get some training camp stuff going next week as everybody's going as we speak today. Jack Strand is quarterback in Atlanta. It's just wild.
That's so cool.
It's crazy. Let's break. We come back. Speaking of fall camp, you'll hear from the head Bison football coach, Tim Polasek, on his thoughts on storylines we're keeping an eye on when fall camp opens later today. It's coming up when we return after this.
This interview with Coach Tim Polasek, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Off and rolling here on a Wednesday. So, we mentioned earlier, breaking news, North Dakota State will open up fall camp later today. We'll be out there for coverage. You can check it out tonight on our news at 6 and 10, and we'll have some snippets of it here tomorrow on the show. We'll have access, I believe it's 7 times over the next month, which, I mean, granted, I would love it every day to be able to go out there because I think there's some nuggets and stuff that we'll be able to get out of it, but this is the way it works. So I can tell you something new we're going to do this summer / for fall camp. Each time that we're out there, we'll make sure we have something we can play out of it for Hot Mic the next day. I just think that's too valuable stuff that I've come back and I'm like, well, we used a little bit on the news and maybe that was all we never got here. I'm like, well, we've got 2 hours of time here. Let's make sure we're trying to use it as best we can. So we're going to do that. At least I'm going to make sure we do that for the times that we're out there. So our first day of access is today, then another one on Friday, so come back on Monday and we'll have some stuff there for you. But I had a chance after we got back from Las Vegas to sit down with Tim Polasek, and we ran the gamut on stuff that I just didn't have time for in the window that we had in Las Vegas. And this is for our upcoming preview shows that we're going to have on WDAY on Sunday nights on August the 16th and August the 23rd, coming up after our newscast, that we discuss everything here. And the stuff we're going to hear from today, we get specific on a couple position groups. You're going to obviously hear me talk with him about quarterback. We talk about offensive line. And then we hit some bigger picture stuff on the amount of experience on this team. It's not a ton. The amount of transfers on this team, it is a ton. There's 20, which compared to some rosters is still like a drip in the bucket compared to a school like UNLV or a school like San Jose State, where they have nearly 40 or 50 guys that have transferred in those respective schools. And we hit on a few other topics as well that I thought were at least important to hit in a wide-ranging scope. So we start our conversation with the head football coach. We start obviously with quarterback, talking about Nathan Hayes. Describe your relationship personality-wise with Nathan Hayes. Is that butting heads, or are you guys more in sync than maybe we see on the outside?
No, I think as spring ball rolled on, we're more in sync. We obviously respect each other. We like each other. But he does have that. He's got a little bit of a combative, competitive edge spirit. Well, here's the ball coach, kind of the same way. It's just, I've become so aware and try to become so much better each day on situational football, and really what does it take to be in fourth quarters, to manage games, and then have playmaking at its best, and try to get the quarterback to understand at some point we're going to ask you to push the ball and be the difference. But along the way of this football game, it's making the right decisions that allow us wins and losses along the way to be able to execute. And so we've really come together from that standpoint. I think he really embraced a few of the exercises I had him do. I had him look at his 100 worst plays from the spring and give me the better option, give me a better play. And, man, he hit that as well as some of the quarterbacks in the past have. So Nathan and I continue to grow together. He's going to be an individual I look back like Cole. Man, I wish I was around him longer.
Is there something he brings to the table that your previous two quarterbacks don't?
I think we can push the ball to the perimeter with rhythm and timing. If we can get him really confident in the belief system of pushing the ball to the perimeter, driving it down the middle, I mean, his arm strength's a click better than the last two guys, but both would have told you that. I think it's on par with what I saw from Trey on film, and it's on par with what I saw live with Carson Wentz. This kid's got a cannon.
What's your confidence level in the guys in front of him, the guys that are going to be blocking for him starting fall camp?
I would say really high from a potential standpoint. Medium to high when it comes to evidence that the job's been done in big moments. We've got several guys that got to go out there and value the reps versus Stenbrot and value the reps versus Kelton McCaslin or Keenan. And they got to start stacking some wins up. Those got to be 50-50 one-on-one battles, especially when the kids know the situation, right? It's a pass down. I'm so pleased with the 3 OTAs that we've got video on, that we've seen. Kenny Anene has made great strides. Josh has made great strides. Tasted's in position to have his best season, and he should, right? He's a sophomore. Gage Schmidt, Empey, right? And then you add Mangan, has really strung together some ball now, and then Stummis might be contending Gage Schmidt for the most improved.
On the end of there, you've got a sophomore, Ryan Babbitts, who this time last year fans didn't know about. They found out about him during fall camp. What his experience last year, how much can that help in 2026?
I think that position, it probably takes about 15 to 16 starts, if we're talking about the old days. Yeah. 15, 16 starts to start to see a kid to come into his own. Okay, that's who he's going to be as a player. Mm-hmm. So he's at, 8 or 9 starts or something like that. And so we're not quite there yet. But the good news is he's a good practice player and he pays attention to the detail. So I'm excited, but I think this is the the movement that's going on in college football. Offensive linemen in their 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th start, they have to be playing well, and they have to be playing cohesive.
Keith Williams came in, joined you obviously for all of spring football. How much did that give him a leg up to maybe win that middle linebacker spot?
Well, I don't know if we get him here at the end of spring, I don't think he would be in the competition. I think we'd be saying this is a really good guy that's going to be a player down the road. Mm-hmm. But the fact he was here in the spring and the nuance of the Mike position for us, running the middle third in Tampa 2, some of the matchup stuff in quarters, really, I think was an eye-opening experience for him to say, okay, I have to be fast, quick, and lean versus big, powerful, and smart, for an example, right? So we got him in the 238-pound range, and we might even think 35 could be better for him.
What have you seen on tape that flashes through spring football?
Well, just the physicality.
Yeah.
I mean, Keith's physicality and his ability to get knocked back on blockers is unique. His firmness on a running back on 3rd and 3 running downhill is evident. But let's not forget about Oliver, too. Oliver's in that fight, especially from a normal down and distance standpoint. We're not talking about 3rd downs. We're not talking about 2nd and long or 2 minutes. But if Oliver can prove to be a good finisher this year, like in fall camp and our thud periods and our tackling periods, I think we might have a little bit of a competition on our hands because he has improved quite a bit.
Now with this new rule and the freshmen that got here in June, does that speed things up? Say, okay, we may need you. We're going to have you.
We probably up there. We probably have identified 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that are true freshmen that have legitimate shots to play. And we need to get that extended to 5 and 6 once you incorporate the special teams. Because now that's given them opportunity for experience. It's given them opportunity to travel. When push comes to shove, we're going to move this program forward. We're always working on our next championship. That's going to be a bigger challenge than ever this year. Okay, so we're not looking down the road. We're here to fight right now. But moving this program forward and having an understanding that, man, if that true freshman is showing better flashes than that backup, we got to find a way for him to be the backup.
The 5-for-5 ruling, how much does that change your quarterback room in terms of Preston Brown, who I think was going to redshirt and now can play?
Obviously, we just don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, before we were navigating through, okay, what 4 games and then potentially a postseason. We know we're in the postseason now. So we were going to have to really nickel and dime that thing a little bit. I think now we can transition to, is there a package on special teams? Is there a package potentially as a running back, or is there a package as a quarterback? And how do we keep moving that position forward? That's what I mean. One of the greatest competitions that we'll have that'll be going on right now is who can position themselves going into spring as the 1 and 2 or 1A, 1B type thing.
You don't have a ton of seniors on this team, and that's the era of college football. I get it. Is that worrisome as a head coach?
We only have 30 guys that we deemed in January that truly understood this culture and could teach it to new guys. That's juniors and seniors. And so that, yes, it's a concern because who do we have that's going to be able to teach the culture and pass it down, right? So we've done a lot of work with our leadership council as far as adding some sophomores to that group and saying, hey, you guys get it. It's just time for you to have confidence in it.
FBS football came to you. You didn't have to go somewhere else. Can you talk about that and the emotions of what game 1 will be like with Jacksonville State here?
I just keep thinking in my head when I was at media days, man, if somebody else would be in this chair right now and having the opportunity to coach this team, I would be kicking myself up and down because I think it's a really special time to be a Bison. I'm honored to be the coach that's going to do the best we can do and to lead us into college football prominence, deliver the brand even on a bigger national scale. And this is huge, right? I mean, we're talking about legacy type stuff for the 2026 team to be the first team that played in FBS history.
So there's a conversation with the head football coach, and we'll have much more coming up throughout the next month. You can look forward here on not only our show, but certainly on WDAY. I think there's a couple things to take out of that. First, he didn't give me the names of the 4 true freshmen they've already identified. So that, to me, is topic 1 today. Like, who's out there maybe on the 1s and 2s field that has already popped during the summer? And then 2 is offensive line. Like he feel good about it, but haven't done it so much in a game. What's that look like? Is Gage Schmidt taking snaps at center? Is it Griffin Empey? One of the many storylines to follow. We're overdue for a break here, so let's take it now. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Second hour coming up. We'll head north to Grand Forks. Tom Miller will check in up at UND on their first day of fall camp. Exciting day around the area. Back on Hot Mic right after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Welcome back, everybody. So, a couple things other I wanted to add on what we were talking about with Tim there. And first, it centers on the change of eligibility, because now you look at it where Preston Brown is a perfect example of that. Preston Brown was a true freshman a year ago that played on special teams, but he's a quarterback prospect. But he has this much athleticism that they had to use. He played 8 games. He made a couple of tackles on special teams. He might be, if he ends up starting a game at quarterback for NDSU, he might be the only one that ever played special teams as well and registered tackles. And I don't mean special teams like the holder, because we've had plenty of that, but I mean actual tackles on special teams. He did that. And now with this change, because the plan was he wasn't playing this year. You heard Polasek say it, that they were going to have to, quote-unquote, nickel and dime it throughout the year. They have the 4 games and try to use them there, and then whatever happens. Now that's out the window. With this new rule, he still has 4 years. So how do they get him on the field? Do they use him in a running back position? That is really intriguing to see. And beyond 2026, who's the guy? Because Trey Drake will be back. Presumably, he would be a senior next season. You've got Xander Smith in the pipeline as well. And then you've got this young man in Preston Brown. That's the really interesting part. It also works on Elijah Wayne, who played as much as he did last year. Jackson Williams, come on down, got another year. Donovan Woolen. All of those guys now have the potential for extra years of eligibility. It's really interesting. That's another side note to follow as camp begins and starting to map out who's playing where and who's getting reps where. That, to me, is a really interesting note going forward. All right, let's time to break. When we come back, we'll head up to Grand Forks. UND is already on the field for its first day of fall camp. We'll check in with our guy, Tom Miller, give us his major storylines, including on 2 players that won appeals that could be back on the field. That's coming up when we come back.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 ready to rock and roll here on a Wednesday morning. Mentioned the Bison get going this afternoon. UND has beat them onto the field, which might be smart when today we're supposed to hit 97 or 98 in the Red River Valley. Practicing in the morning may make a lot of sense as the Fighting Hawks open up year 2 of the Eric Schmidt era. Our guy Tom Miller begins, year 22. What year is this for you covering UND football now?
Yeah, year 23
Good
is
for you,
underway.
man. That's awesome. Congratulations on that. As he told me in the commercial break, sunscreened up and ready to go for year 2. All right, so you're out there. Are you in an undisclosed location, or where are you at in relation to practice here?
Yeah, so they're practicing on the grass field here to the south of the Pollard Center. So just standing next to the long jump pit at Memorial Stadium, brand new long jump pit. So.
All right, I know you wrote this yesterday, and I want to get to it about the storylines you were watching during camp. What's the big one, the overarching one for you to say we need an answer on this prior to the opener with Long Island?
Yeah, boy, that's a good question. I think ultimately, the growth of Jerry Kaminsky is going to dictate a lot of how this season plays out for North Dakota. I think there's plenty of reason to believe that from your sophomore to your junior season that a lot of growth can take place. And I don't think there's a better sign for him than competing at the Manning Passing Academy, winning a skills competition. I think that just can fuel his confidence. If there were any questions about confidence coming off the I would say he kind of peaked mid-season there. And, had some kind of growing pains
Yeah.
a little bit last season. And, to some extent, I think we've been talking about Jerry Kaminsky for so long that we forgot that he was a sophomore. And I think there's plenty of reason to believe that he might be ready for reaching a new level here.
Tom, I know you spoke with him when he got back from Shreveport, from Louisiana, and Thibodeau, actually, as from the passing academy. Did you get a sense his confidence was higher from what happened that weekend in June?
Yeah, I was just really impressed. I kind of asked him, if he was nervous going up against some of the biggest names in college football, or just throwing in front of the Manning family, right? And I was just impressed that, and it doesn't come across cocky, I would say. He just really was like, I wanted to compete. I was really excited to show that, an FCS guy could hang with the FBS guys. And I think that might be a lens into some of his personality and why, coaches have been raving about him since he was at Sun Prairie High School in Wisconsin.
All right, the other major newsy stuff, I want to hit this quick, is the status of Avery Scott and Johnny Wiltshire, who both were granted temporary restraining orders. Are they practicing today? What's the status?
No, I think they're working through some logistical steps toward practicing. I wouldn't be surprised if they practice even this week. But I think there's also an understanding that a lot hangs in the balance in terms of their court dates that are seeking that, right now they have that temporary restraining order that might allow them to practice, but they're really going to need that green light on August 14th for Wiltshire, and I believe it's August 18th for Avery Scott, seeking that preliminary injunction. And I think, if they're successful on those days, then UND maybe gives them a little bit more reps in practice and kind of views them as being candidates to play in 2026, because it's been a long, weird kind of mystery on whether they're going to be eligible or not. And both of them are impact kids. Like
Totally.
Both of them, especially I feel like Johnny Wiltshire has established himself as one of the better defenders in the Missouri Valley and has kind of become that Swiss Army knife that Eric Schmidt's new defense kind of been a perfect fit for him.
Schmidt isn't counting on these guys, is he? Like, how is Schmidt approaching this in regards to both these guys?
As I asked questions throughout the offseason, the confidence level kind of slowly dwindled. I think right away they thought that these were very strong candidates to have their waivers granted. And then as time went on, there was less and less confidence. So I think they're obviously have been planning for all the different paths that could happen. But considering that they play essentially the same position, now Avery Scott could play more corner, but both of them being a nickel, that puts you in a completely different situation if both of them can play or both of them can't play. Grant Tylucky is a young player who got his feet wet as a true freshman a year ago from the area. He'd probably be the most experienced guy coming back at nickel. And so it's definitely a big storyline to see how these play out. And we won't know until mid-August, 10 days before, about 10 days before the season opener.
That is crazy. Running back screams to me of who's going to be the guy. Sawyer Seidel obviously left. He's at Wake Forest. Zebarth graduated. Xavier Scott graduated. So who's the guy? Who's going to be the number one running back in your mind?
Yeah, I tend to think that, well, number one, I think it's going to be a very balanced attack, three-headed attack. But I think there's definitely some intrigue in Charles Langama out of Maple Grove. I think he has a little bit of that, coaches are curious if there's something extra special there. I get some – he runs like Otis Weah. Just low to the ground, tough to bring down. Definitely that style. And then Matt Lawson out of Illinois State. Put up numbers as a true freshman in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. So I think there's a baseline of expectation there that he can hack it at this level, obviously. So I see those two starting the season kind of splitting carries. And then Colton Brunell, is a guy that's just kind of slowly gotten more and more love from teammates and coaches and has established himself as somebody that they're going to try to get involved for sure.
Lance Rucker could be the Missouri Valley Defensive Player of the Year this year. I think he's got a heck of a shot to win it. Having him back, what does that anchor the UND defense? How big a deal is that, Tom?
Yeah, I think that's huge, right? Like the playoffs, watching those playoffs after the Tennessee Tech game, as you drive to the airport, just talking with guys, in the media is like, hey, he's not coming back. There's no way.
Yeah.
What
Yes.
a dominant performance, right? And so, even I think that was the game that Eric Schmidt pleaded for UND fans
Correct.
to hit up the donation line. But to have him back is just a huge anchor. And then you have, the kid from Kitson County Central, Caden Vig, who's grown from 6'3", 235 when he came here to 6'6", 275. He is an absolute monster. And those guys bookending whatever you're going to do. I think that's probably where it starts for an Eric Schmidt defense. He's all about production at those two spots. And to start there is, going to allow them, I think, to figure things out in the back end, because that's where they have questions at linebacker and safety.
What do you make at linebacker? What's the major question there of who's going to be the 3 or 4 guys on the field come August 27th?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to can Crookston's Ethan Bull handle that spot. There's a little bit of a gap between, they've got Mike Devereaux coming back from transfer from Old Dominion, who slowly got better and better last year, who I think they've got a baseline of, okay, this is what he can do at linebacker, and they expect him to have a strong season. But outside of him, there's kind of a gap between, some really promising kids. Are they ready? Are they physically ready? Are they mentally ready? You're going to talk about like the Starcevic kid out of Kindred/Thompson.
Yep.
He's going to be in the mix, but maybe he's not ready quite yet. There's going to be questions there. They've got an Iowa State transfer who's still really young. They really like it might be an area that they play a true freshman. That wouldn't surprise me. This is essentially Eric Schmidt's first prep recruiting class landing on campus right now, and I think we're going to notice a difference.
I got to ask, we're talking about this. We're going to put up the schedule to me, and I look at the first 7 games, Tom, and this is what we can do in media. We can look ahead. If UND's not 6-1 out of those 7, I think that's a major missed opportunity. I mean, Long Island, Portland State, those are wins. Obviously, St. Thomas in there. They go to Terre Haute, Murray State, and Northern Iowa. To me, they win. They got to win. Obviously, the Nebraska game's in there, but if 6-1 seems like the baseline to me, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I see it the same way.
Yeah.
I think this is a season that needs to start strong, because obviously it gets significantly tougher down the stretch.
Correct.
And I think defensively, North Dakota's probably okay with that a little bit, because they're going to have to figure out, potentially who's playing at nickel, who's playing at linebacker, who's playing at safety. I mean, they've got questions on defense outside of Rucker and Vig to kind of figure out. And so, maybe not going to Missoula and starting at Manhattan, maybe easing into this season might fit this squad well.
The intriguing part, though, is, and I saw some UND fans chirping about it, that they're not home for 4 weeks. They play the first 2, and then it's 3 straight road games thrown in there. I mean, that's a challenge in itself. Going on the road and playing, we can say it's automatic win in July. It's another thing to have to go and do it.
Yeah, and it's funny how fast, Eric Schmidt's year 1 kind of put to rest some of those major road concerns. And so, I feel like year 1 has given him a long leash with, fans' perspective on what the program can do on the road, what the defense can do despite the questions. And it's going to be fascinating to see if, that's just if he builds on year 1 or what that looks like. I think there's a heck of a lot of belief in Grand Forks in him.
To me, the 2 roadies on the back end, at Youngstown, at Vermilion, those are 2 places. Obviously, the Youngstown game 2 years ago was an ultimate head scratcher, and they haven't won in Vermilion in the D1 era. That they got to put that to bed as well this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, those are a couple tough places to play, no doubt. And I think those are 2 teams that are going to be, at the top of the league. And there's a lot of faith in Youngstown, and I'm curious what kind of year they can have. Boy, Bo Brungard sure can. He can make that team go, and they rely on him a lot. So I'm curious to see how Youngstown's season goes. I didn't rank them as high as the rest in the Missouri Valley media.
I'm interested your thoughts and what Schmidt maybe has told you about this. UND's bye isn't until mid-November. What do you make of that, playing 11 straight games, then a bye, and then wrapping up the season? How's he preparing for that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do think this team is deeper than past teams in terms of, even look at the offensive line. I think there's, 10 guys that they trust to play. And so, I think some of your physical positions, I've written about the tight end group that is as deep as I have ever remembered it being. So some of your physical positions having that depth, I think that's going to be the only way you can get through that. Because you look at last year, that was kind of UND's, every once in a while they've gone to the playoffs, but that was, an extended season, and you saw what that can do to a roster when, the corner situation, they were playing guys who hadn't played all year at the end there.
Well, I go back to the very first game, how beat up they got at Kansas State. I know they nearly won the game, but there were some injuries they never recovered from after the first game at Manhattan.
Yeah, Caleb Wilson didn't play again all year.
Right.
And so he's back this year, and that's going to be another good position battle here to watch to see if he can get back into the lineup. But absolutely, they had their share of injuries last year, and that's obviously just what happens in college football. You just got to be prepared roster-wise.
Last thing, I know you got to get back to work here. I leave the powder keg question here at the end. With NDSU not being there, I'm interested just fan reaction-wise what you've heard of anticipating the season, knowing how different it's going to be with the Bison not there. Can you summarize what you've heard over the last few months?
Yeah, I think, I just think there's kind of some disappointment that I've mentioned it this way to people before, and I think it's, it's the only way I can really think of, is just that the ultimate dream was from fans' perspective, and I'm sure coaches and players, was to reach national championship status. And the understanding and expectation was that that was going to have to happen going through Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take that, portion of the dream away, it's just different. And, not having that kind of ultimate goal or carrot standing there is just disappointing, I think, from a fan's perspective.
It's a good way to put it there, and a perfect way to cap our interview. Appreciate it. Get back to work, man. Stay cool, and we'll talk again during camp, okay?
Absolutely. Good to chat with you.
There he is, man. There he is, Tom Miller from the Grand Forks Herald. In year 23 of covering UND football, and we'll be all over it. And we'll be keeping our eyes on a few position battles there. But, again, Eric, if you can, to bring up the schedule when you have a second. It looks to me, Long Island is not good. Portland State, not good. St. Thomas is non-scholarship. You got to be 3-0. Then you got that game with Nebraska, which is a night game. Big Ten Network, go take your shot, right? See what happens and go from there. But then after that, at Indiana State, you got to win that game. Home from Murray, you best win that one. And at Northern Iowa, you best win that one. So you set yourself up at the worst at 6-1, in my opinion. And then you take your chances with what happens after that. South Dakota State's coming up there for the third year in a row. And you lost in overtime, Heartbreak Hotel, in the regular season finale a year ago. Then to Vermilion, and you somehow got to find a way to win there. At Youngstown back-to-back is awfully, awfully hard. That's really difficult. Go to Vermilion, to Youngstown. You somehow got to split there. Illinois State is going to be awfully difficult coming to Grand Forks. And then the bye, and then you have Southern Illinois coming for the regular season finale at the Alaris Center. Awfully interesting. I think I put it out there. I wasn't trolling UND fans because they love to get on me, and it's fine, comes with the territory. I really think they're the team to beat in the league. I think defensively they're going to be really, really good. Rucker is a devastator up front. I think Kaminsky will be better, and Tom's right. First half of the season was really good. Second half, you Bison fans saw it. He was not good at the end of the year. He wasn't good the week prior against South Dakota. And then he got dinged up, obviously, in the playoff game with Tennessee Tech. And he was just okay in the week after when they played Tarleton. I think he'll be better this year. He needs to be for UND to be at the top of the league in 2026. Good stuff. we'll be keeping an eye on it as camp gets going. All right, let's break. We come back, got a few emails to get to. Much more to roll on. Merritt Beason going to join us as well in about 15 minutes' time. Hot Mic rolls on. Back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Wednesday morning show. Holy cow, we are flying here. All right, the final 35 minutes here on a busy Wednesday morning. Again, if you're just joining us, missed the breaking news off the top of the show out of Atlanta, where former Dragons starting quarterback Jack Strand is taking the number one reps today with the injuries to Tua Tagovailoa, to Michael Penix, the releasing of Trevor Siemian. That leaves Strand as the guy. Hopefully we're going to hear from him and plan on doing that for our news tonight, because that's a great story. Great story. Another great story. This comes from the Star-Tribune. Headline yesterday, Moorhead's football success prompts transfers from Fargo South. With the subheadline, after the Spuds reached the Prep Bowl last season, players from Fargo wanted in on the fun. And this is a, I would say, rather hot-button issue that has transpired over the last 6 weeks, at least to my knowledge. It may have been going on longer than that, but at least when it's brought to my attention was about a month and a half ago. And the big one, obviously, centers on Drew Kessel from Fargo South, the North Dakota State commit, who had 10 Power 4 offers up and move from South, and will spend his senior year at Moorhead High School. And he's not alone. There's two other Fargo players. Cullen Cooper from Fargo South, another Bruin, will play for the Spuds this season. And Zahir Miller, linebacker from Fargo Davies, has transferred and will play on the defensive side of the ball for the Spuds this upcoming year. Now, a quick programming note. Kevin Feeney will be with us tomorrow, right off the hop at 9 a.m. here in studio off to my left. And that will be one of the early questions we ask him tomorrow. I've known Kevin for 20 years, long as I've been here. We have a relationship where I can, I think, pretty much ask whatever. And I'm interested, A, on his reaction to this, and B, I think there's some that say, well, especially in Moorhead where I live, a kid that's come up through the program and maybe, hey, it's my turn to play, and then find out, well, wait a minute, there's a transfer coming in from Fargo that's going to take my spot. That's the catch-22 as well. Now, on the Fargo side of things, I don't blame Tyler Kosel or Wayne Weremeyer one bit if they are PO'd on what went down. And you're going to say to me, well, wait a minute, you're a big fan of the transfer portal in college. What are you up in arms about what's happening in the high school ranks? And to me, again, I offer this distinction that those are adults at 18 years old. You're viewed as an adult when you're 18 when you enroll in college, right? To make adult decisions. High school, you're not there yet. I know you're 16, 17 years old transferring for your senior season, right? I turned 18 in March of my senior year of high school, right? So I wasn't even, some would say I'm not even an adult now at 47, but at 8, I wasn't ready to make adult decisions, I can tell you that, in high school. How much is this parent-driven? I don't know. I think there's more relationship among the players nowadays than maybe we realize, whether it's playing 7-on-7 camps, playing AAU basketball, which I know the Kessels knew that with the guys from Moorhead, with Jet Feeney, with David Mack, with Tay Rich, Zach Walker, those guys. There's a relationship from the basketball court. But it is definitely, I think, some tension might be the right way to describe it. And for the guys that left, and Drew said it when we had him on the show. You can go back and watch our interview because I thought it was really illuminating. Drew said competition was the biggest deal. And Fargo South doesn't play in the highest. I had to remind people of that when the story came out. Because people were coming at me like, well, Fargo South plays in the top level. I'm like, no, they don't. Fargo South is a 2A school in North Dakota. And I think that even is a minute point to the bigger picture, because Moorhead is playing against the likes of Edina, Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, Maple Grove. All of those are on the schedule this year. 3 of those schools are coming to Moorhead. I think that alone, that's a pretty big bleeping deal. Second, the amount of eyes that are on those games. You don't think there's going to be a buttload of college coaches going to be at all those games? You are mistaken. Totally off of it. That for any of those games are going to be played over in Moorhead. And it's not just North Dakota State. There'll be college coaches from all over the area that have a bye week or however they can send whatever minion they can send over to be at the game. And it may not be just that. There were head coaches that have been over at Moorhead. I know this. Power 4 that have been to games and will be again this year. So if you're a budding high school senior, you think you've got an opportunity to get in front of bigger name programs and play at a higher level, then loyalty be damned. I'm going to go transfer and go find a way to play over there. You may hate that. It sounds really gross to say it out loud, but that's the reality of it. This was Feeney's quote in the story. And we got to go to break here. With the exposure that we've gotten in the recruiting world, there's some student athletes that have come because they feel like this is going to be a better opportunity for them to earn a college opportunity. We're going to be an accepting place where if kids want to be a part of it, we're going to try and get them in. Minnesota State High School League says there's an average of about 2,000 transfer and eligibility requests in Minnesota each year. Think about that. That's a number if you would have asked me, I thought 500. 2,000. And the Spuds aren't alone. Shakopee added 3 players. 1 from Waconia, 1 from Brainerd, 1 from Phoenix, Arizona. And they added a kid from Wayzata. Shakopee, which is not necessarily known as a football powerhouse. So it's here. I get it. It's kind of ugly, but this is the new world now in the high school football ranks. And it's happened other places. And now it's coming here to our backyard. So Kevin will be with us tomorrow. We're going to chat about that and obviously expectations for 2026. That'll start our show tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. All right, we got a break. We come back. Really neat deal going on this weekend at West Fargo Cheyenne. Standout volleyball player Merritt Beason from the Omaha Supernovas will join us about hosting a camp here in town. That's coming up when we come back after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a busy Wednesday show. So, unique deal coming up this weekend out in West Fargo. You know, we're getting ready for high school football camps going. Volleyball gets going. Soccer, we're not that far away. Heck, soccer, I think, starts playing games in a couple weeks, which is kind of scary to say that out loud. But really neat deal out at West Fargo Cheyenne High School this weekend. On Saturday, former Nebraska volleyball standout Merritt Beason will be in town to host a day-long camp. They'll be going from early in the morning till late in the afternoon. Merritt, of course, played at Nebraska. Now she plays professionally for the Omaha Supernovas, and she joins us here this morning to chat about what's going on in West Fargo this weekend. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. How in the world did you connect with West Fargo, North Dakota? How did this come about?
Yeah, so when I was in college still at Nebraska, one of my teammates, Lexi Rodriguez, was kind of like building a relationship and kind of like a mentorship kind of deal with a family out there in Fargo. And so she asked me if I wanted to go. She was planning on going up for a camp in Fargo. And so she was like, do you want to come and like be the other person? And I was like, yes, of course, I would love to. And so I went, loved it. Great people up there for sure. And so it was just so much fun. And then I kind of just kept in touch with the Dinger family ever since then. And here we are. So now I'm coming back.
What was your initial thoughts of coming to North Dakota?
Honestly, I think I was more surprised with like how cool it was and how much there actually was to do. I think it's kind of like Nebraska in a sense of like I expected there to be nothing, nothing going on. But it was really cool. I loved it.
So we have a ton of volleyball fans in this area, and I think you found that out firsthand, that certainly follow Nebraska. You were part of an unbelievable run that's still going on right now. Tell me about that, because that's not where your college career started. Going to Lincoln and what that experience was like playing in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it was insane. And just, I mean, I still try and reflect on my college career, and it's just still so hard to like grasp and to put into words. But I mean, I'm just very blessed that the portal existed and I found my way to Nebraska just because the people there and the culture and obviously the tradition that that program holds is just unreal to be a part of. And so it was so special, and just the girls that I was able to build relationships with over time. And obviously we were able to do some really cool things. We maybe wish that we would have got a national championship out of it, but still like forever grateful for my time there and just how well I was able to shape into who I wanted to be. And that has to give a lot of credit to the people that I was around and the coaching staff for sure.
All right, we watch matches, Merritt, on TV, and the crowds are insane. Like, can you describe what that, because it looks like a basketball game or heck, a football game when you're playing at home. Can you tell us about that, what that experience was like playing?
Yeah, it's unreal. I think also just the way that Nebraska and Lincoln celebrates women's sports, but also volleyball specifically, was so cool to be a part of. And then just to be able to be a part of kind of like leading the pack in like how we can celebrate women's sports in this country, I think was so cool. And Nebraska and Lincoln does such a good job of that. But I mean, it was unreal, and it was such an advantage for us to have a sold out stadium every home match. Like that's just unheard of in the state of women's sports right now, but it was just so cool to be a part of and such an advantage for us as a team.
All right, I got to ask, where were you when you found out we're going to play a game in the football stadium? What was your initial reaction when you found out you guys were going to do that?
Yeah, actually when I was on my visit in the portal, coach like mentioned it and I was kind of like, yeah, right. Like, okay, you know, like there's no way. But I found out on my visit and just again kind of was like, oh, like that would be really cool. But like, will that actually happen? And then they like came in and announced it to us as a team, I think during that spring. But I was just kind of like, all right, like we'll see.
So walking out that day, I mean, it had to take your breath away.
Oh, 100%. It was unreal. I think after the match was really when, because a lot of times like during a game, I just kind of like black out everything that's going on. Like it's just like I'm playing volleyball and there's like really no surroundings. And so after the match, when it was over and we were able to just like look around at how many people were actually there, that was when it like really, really hit me of like, oh my gosh, there's 92,000 people sitting in the stands right now. And still to this day, like I'll watch a big event like the Super Bowl or something like that, and I always look up how many people are there, and I'm like, that is just so crazy to like watch from the outside now and think like we did that and we were a part of that.
Well, you can still brag because you probably have more people at your event than the Super Bowl does. Like, yeah, we got more, right? You got bragging rights.
Yeah.
Have you gone back and watched it on TV at all? Like that match, the outdoor game?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I need to.
Well, watching it from afar, I mean, my mouth was dry. We were doing the show that next day. Like, this is insane that many people would go, and you were out there. That's a heck of a deal. I have to ask, road environments in the Big Ten. We talk about in football. What about volleyball? What was the most hostile one that you played at?
I would say Penn State. And Wisconsin's probably a close second. Penn State, a lot of times their men's volleyball team is like the first row. And that can be tricky just because they like actually understand what's going on. And so sometimes what they say gets to you a little bit more because it's like actually related to volleyball. But I would say those two for sure.
When you say actually related to volleyball, what are they doing? What are they trying to get in your head?
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It depends on the person too. They do a lot of prior research also. So they're prepared. Yeah, they're prepared.
Tell us about this weekend. What do you got coming up at West Fargo Cheyenne, and what you're planning to accomplish on Saturday?
Yeah. So one of my like big goals and just like I guess missions in my life right now is to continue expanding the sport of volleyball. And I love younger kids. I've always had a passion for giving back to the youth. And so I started doing camps and stuff out of my high school when I was still in college and still at Florida, and then kind of just continued that and have found like little pockets of communities that I love to go to. And so one, just to continue actual like volleyball skills and development, but also I think a big thing for me is like continuing to coach the like mental side of volleyball and like be a role model for these girls that they can see of like the same things you're struggling with, I struggle with to this day and have struggled with my entire career. And so I think that side of volleyball is the thing that I really, really love, of like mentoring and kind of just giving them a role model that is real and not trying to be like, oh, I have it all together, because I don't, and that's not the reality of it. And I think that's kind of hard in the role that some of us are in as pro athletes, is just like everyone looks at you and thinks you're perfect and you never struggle, and that's not the reality. And so that's my kind of big goal, is to obviously push forward like the skills and the techniques and things like that, but also give them somebody that they can look to and use as a resource on the mental and emotional side of it as well.
For your camp, is this something where you're looking for players that want to play where you played, or is this for even introductory, players that want to get into the game or interested about volleyball?
Yeah, all of the above. I'm sure there will be a wide variety of skill level, but I mean, it's for elite players and it's also for beginners. And so all of the above. The age groups kind of keep it a little bit more spread, just like obviously the really, really young girls, most of them are going to be beginners, but I think for anyone is welcome.
How young were you when you got started?
I started playing in 6th grade, so I wasn't super young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did gymnastics pretty much my whole life and then switched to volleyball in 6th grade.
So what was the switch for? Was it growth spurt, or what was the main reason?
Yeah, I got too tall. I was like, there's no way. On bars, it's a deduction when your feet hit the mat, and the bar was raised all the way up, and I was like, this is not fair. I'm already at a disadvantage.
You're already giving back because you're head coaching at your alma mater, at your high school. How did that come about so soon after your collegiate playing days were done?
Yeah. So I finished playing in college, I guess 2 Decembers ago. And so I got drafted to Atlanta, and I was in Atlanta, and a bunch of my high school girls on the high school team had come to one of the Atlanta matches, and the coach that I had just been let go. And so I was like, oh, like, do you guys have a coach yet? And they were like, no, like, we still don't have a coach. And so I had reached out to someone that I know that kind of like is around the school. And I was like, hey, like, obviously you guys would have to be very flexible with me. Like, I can't teach. I'm still playing professionally. But like, if you guys haven't found a coach, like, and we can work this out, like, I would love to talk about it. So I drove from Atlanta to Birmingham one day and had like a little interview, and we just kind of talked over what that would look like. And then here we are. So I coach them during the off season. When I get home in like the middle of May, I normally take a few weeks off, and then we start like middle of June, and then coach them pretty much through October, and then leave middle of November, early December. So
how long does the high school volleyball season go in Alabama?
Middle of August to the end of October.
Okay.
Yeah, so state's like the very last week of October for us.
So you're not that far removed from being in high school. What is that like to be coaching now in high school?
No, it's actually so weird. Like, the office that I have is the same office that my high school coach had that I was always hanging out in. And so it's definitely weird. It's like the same weight room, same gym, everything looks the exact same. So it's definitely weird, but I mean, it's a pretty small town, and so like a lot of the girls I either like babysat growing up, or my brother had crushes on them growing up, like, just like little things like that.
That's awesome.
That I think is like, it's so cool and so special. One of them's my neighbor, one of them's my cousin. Like, it's just so small town, and I feel like I've watched these girls grow up pretty much their whole life. So it's very cool.
Tell me about playing Major League Volleyball, and you're back in Nebraska. You're playing for the Supernovas in Omaha. What the league is like, and we were visiting off air. The league is even getting bigger. There's a team coming to Minnesota next year.
Yeah, we're expanding this year and adding Minnesota, DC, and NorCal.
Team in California. Yep.
Yeah, I think those are the 3 that are being added this year. It's so cool. I think the MLV does such a nice job of kind of adopting the like American professional league vibe, in a sense of like, it's very similar and set up to like an NBA or an NFL. And so for us, it's really cool. And just to have the opportunity to continue playing here and not have to move overseas for 8 months out of the year is such a blessing. And obviously, having played my collegiate career in Nebraska, it makes that connection even more special.
To still keep playing, I mean, obviously the Olympics are a couple years off. Have you thought about that? Is that a possibility in 2028?
I don't know that route's necessarily for me. You
Okay.
have to go live in California during the summers. And I have loved the coaching aspect and doing these camps and things like that so much that I kind of like having that balance of like seeing the sport on both sides. And that's not something that I would necessarily be able to do if I was pursuing that.
Last thing before we go, I'm going to end with something silly. Is there one time where you had like just a huge kill coming at you, like you had a dodge or you got clipped, like you took one up top? Is there a match or anything stand out? Like I didn't get out of the way fast enough. That one got me pretty good.
Oh, for sure. That happens a lot, especially a lot in practice. I'm trying to think. I guess the most recent one was in the championship, actually, for MLV this year.
Yeah.
And I was in right back defense, and our right front blocker was like late, and so the outside just bounced. It actually hit my thigh, but it went all the way in the stands, and I had a ball bruise on my leg for like weeks, literally like a circle imprint for weeks.
Holy cow.
So it wasn't off my head that time, but that happens a lot.
I really appreciate you doing this. I know you got to get back to practice. Thanks so much for this. Good luck this weekend. Safe travels up here and have a great time. And thankfully, you're getting the Alabama weather will be here this weekend, so you won't miss that.
I'm bringing it with me.
Thanks for the time, Merritt. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Merritt Beason joining us from the Omaha Supernovas, former Nebraska standout. Again, the camp is on Saturday at West Fargo Cheyenne High School. There's 3 different sessions beginning in the morning with 3rd to 5th grade. 6th to 8th grade goes from noon to 2:30. And then for high schoolers, it goes from 3:30 to 6. And that's a pretty cool deal. We know the level of players around here. You know, we've just had 2 over the last, month commit to play at Power 4 schools. So we're at a level right now maybe unheard of in the high school volleyball ranks. And to have a player of her caliber, she was 2-time first team All Big Ten. You saw some of her highlights of her playing. We featured this on our show over the last couple of years of the rise of Nebraska, Wisconsin volleyball. Obviously the Huskers playing in the outdoor game a few years ago. Big Ten volleyball is nothing to shake a stick at, and we appreciate Merritt coming on this morning to tell us about it. That's a really neat event for volleyball fans out in the area coming up on Saturday. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back, got a few emails to get to, and we'll wrap things up, get you ready for a hot Wednesday. Hot Mike concludes on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a busy Wednesday morning. Our thanks to Merritt Beason. That was great. For any volleyball fans out there, go back and podcast that. She was tremendous. My timeline is filled up with NFL reporters talking about Jack Strand. Now, there's something I didn't think we'd say in 2026. Maybe when the draft, because there was obviously legit steam on him, but I didn't think on day one of training camp with Atlanta that he'd be out there doing that. So much more coverage on that coming up throughout the day on our newscast at 6 and 10. And I'm assuming he'll speak with the media, and if he does, we will have that on the show tomorrow. Let's get a few emails in here before we do What to Watch. Dom, I have a prediction. If UND wins the FCS title in the next 2 years, I think they'll move to the Mountain West along with the 2 Montana schools. The sad thing is that means the Mountain West will have lost a team. That's quite the prediction. I'm not sure which is more outlandish, UND winning the FCS championship or they're moving to the Mountain West. I think they will be. I don't know about winning the title this year. I think they're going to be good. I do not think they are in any shape, way, or form ready for FBS football. There's no indication that they are on the road for that. Another email comes in, going back to our previous topic. Dom, Shakopee has 6 Power 4 recruits on this year's team, plus their junior quarterback who was invited to the Manning Passing Academy. I knew they had 4. I didn't know they had 6. So Shakopee has gone all in to see that they want to be a contender in 6A. Bo Schwartz is the young man's name, who's the quarterback for Shakopee, who went to the Manning Passing Academy last month. So we'll see. It's a hot topic that's just starting to fester here, not going anywhere around high school football. All right, let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. Good comments today. Good program. All right, here we go. We got a lot to get to. Twins are in action coming up. Game 2 of their series with Kansas City after the walk-off win last night. Thanks to Royce Lewis, 6:30 on Twins TV for game number 2. See, now, one thing to get to 500. That's what happened at the All-Star break, right? They couldn't get over it. They got Joe Ryan tonight against old friend Randy Dobnak. Will be pitching for Kansas City. 6:30 tonight on Twins TV. Big Ten Media Days roll on. The Gophers are speaking today. PJ Fleck will be on the microphone. We'll time how long his opening statement goes. That's on Big Ten Network coming up now, and the Gophers go later today. And the USA Swimming Championships are underway from California. That's at 8 o'clock tonight on Peacock. Our thanks to Drew Trafton, to Tim Polasek for joining us, to Tom Miller, and to Merritt Beason. If you missed any of our program, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Stay cool, everybody. We'll try to do the same. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.